Продовжуємо роботу в українському кризовому медіа-центрі і зараз говоритимемо на тему «Уряд окупованих речей. Наслідки скасування постанови Кабінету міністрів України номер 1035 для кримчан та держави». Нашими спікерами
Our speakers are Yuliia Lisova, the lawyer of Ukrainian Helsinki Human Rights Union, and Daria, Svyrydova, lawyer of the Ukrainian Helsinki Human Rights Union, and Yusuf, Kurkchy, First Deputy Minister on Temporary Occupied Territories and Internally Displaced Persons of Ukraine. Thank you. Greetings to the colleagues. I am Daria Svyrydova. I'm the lawyer of Ukrainian Helsinki Human Rights Union. On the 14th of June 2017, the Administrative Court of Appeals of Kiev cancelled Part 1 of the resolution number 1035 of the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine. This resolution, from the beginning of 2016, limited the supplies of any goods to the occupied territory of Ukraine, Crimea, and from Crimea to Ukraine. This resolution was appealed against by Yuliia Lisova, a lawyer from Crimea, and the case was supported as the strategic one by the Ukrainian Helsinki Human Rights Union. Unfortunately, because of the scale of the problem and because of many issues which we receive today in relation with the cancelling of Part 1 of this resolution, we would like today to tell in more details about the legal consequences of the court for the citizens of Ukraine, for the government of Ukraine as well. I would like to remind you briefly on what was the essence of the resolution which was passed in December 2015. Had to settle all the issues of conducting business with occupied territories and to limit the trade with the occupied territory of Crimea. But unfortunately, the resolution had the limitation and led to violation of human rights of regular people for evacuation of their own property, the serious violation of human rights of people who were moving from the territory of occupied Crimea to Ukraine and back. It was next to impossible to take the possessions by people to the territory of Ukraine. Thousands of people in Crimea had to stay on the territory of Crimea because they could not take their property outside the occupied Crimea. In order to remove such violations of human rights, we addressed the court. Besides, we can state that the fact that this resolution caused many problems and was illegal, but from the very beginning it was obvious, that this fact was obvious not just for the human rights organizations. The direct recommendations to introduce amendments to the resolution 1035 were in the recommendations of the parliamentary hearings for 2016. Also, amendments to the resolution were drafted with the participation of the civil rights organizations together with the Ministry on Occupied Territories. And the ministry was saying that this resolution needs to be amended, but we need to say that only in a year this problem was resolved. Now the court stated that the resolution in its first part, which restricted movement of own possessions by the citizens of Ukraine and residents of Crimea from the occupied territory of Crimea to Ukraine and back is illegal, and now all the restrictions on moving personal belongings by physical persons contradict the effective legislation of Ukraine. You will hear in detail about that from my colleague Yuliia Lisova. I would like to mention one important problem which is related to non-implementing this resolution, this ruling. For 10 days this resolution is void, but we believe, but we receive many a lot of information that the customs service ignores the fact that the ruling was made to cancel the restrictions set by the resolution 1035, and they continue to put obstacles to citizens who are trying to take their belongings to the occupied Crimea or out of the occupied Crimea. The customs service disrespects the judiciary today. We believe it's unacceptable. We would like to remind to the Customs Service of Ukraine that the rulings of the court are mandatory on the territory of Ukraine. We invited the Customs Service to this press conference, but unfortunately they did not show up. We believe that just like 2 years ago, they have nothing to say to the citizens of Ukraine. They cannot explain why they are not executing the ruling of the court. Why this ruling is not executed, why the restrictions continue, we cannot understand. Maybe this is just, maybe they do not want to get rid of corruption schemes, because we saw cases when the customs service was helping the citizens of Crimea to take their possessions by alternative ways. We would like to hear the answer of the representatives of the customs service, but they did not show up. And in the end, I would like to emphasize that today the Ukrainian Helsinki Union will publish a public address to the government of Ukraine, to the Customs Service of Ukraine, which will be on requirements to execute the ruling of the court on cancelling Part 1 of Resolution 1035. We addressed the government requesting to settle the trading relations between Ukraine and the occupied territory of Crimea, because this is something which is not regulated and is not clear from the legislative point of view. We would like to mention that in any developments of in any amendments or resolutions, we will, if any amendments or resolutions are drafted, we will be closely following this process, and we hope that the rights of ownership of physical persons will not be limited anymore, and the government will be differentiating between the issues of conducting business and trade, and this could be regulated by the resolution by the Cabinet of Ministers, and they will not be touching upon the issue of the rights of physical persons that was incorrectly done in the resolution 1035, and we hope that this will not be done any longer. And in the end, a few recommendations to people in Crimea who today are trying to take out their belongings. So following the ruling of the court, which was published on a Facebook page, if you still experience that the Customs Service does not allow you to take your belongings, then you should demand that the Customs Service should provide a written explanation why they do not allow you to take. You can also address the law enforcement bodies and also Ukrainian Helsinki Union and our office in Kherson, which gives assistance to people in Crimea. You can call the phone numbers which are on our Facebook page, which are on here on the screen in cases if you are refused to take your personal belongings out of Crimea.
Good afternoon. I'm Lisova Yuliia. I'm a claimant in the case which was mentioned by Daria. I come from Crimea, and in 2014 I relocated to Kiev, and I had to relocate my belongings too. By the year 2014, it was absolutely possible, but after the resolution number 1035 came into force, it became very difficult. The resolution allows to relocate just some types of goods. You cannot relocate a vacuum cleaner, a computer, and your beloved cat. At the very beginning, I had some hope that the Cabinet of Ministers might change its mind, and when after 6 months of the enforcement of that resolution, I understood that the situation would not change. The last argument was when a member of my family was unable to cross the border with some with a toolkit, just ordinary household things, and I decided to file a claim to court. The resolution 1035 violated our right to possess our belongings and to have disposal of them. It also prevented us from proper use of our right of the freedom of movement. Any person who wishes to relocate from Kherson to Ivano-Frankivsk has unlimited right of relocation for their belongings, while the Crimean residents appeared unable to do this, which is absolutely unfair. So the court agreed with our opinion and confirmed that this resolution number 1035 was a violation of constitutional rights of Ukrainian citizens, and with the reference to the International Court of Human Rights ruling, and with the reference to the European Convention of Human Rights and the case law of the European Court of Human Rights. The right to how the property right could be limited by the state, but this should be done based on very solid grounds and arguments. If national interests are involved, of course, the Cabinet of Ministers can make decision and limit the property right of the citizens. But when I try to relocate my microwave or vacuum cleaner across the border, across the checkpoint from Crimea, I do not think that I make any threat to the national interests. In June 2017, the Court of Appeal confirmed the ruling of the first instance court and even slightly extended the language of that ruling. From June this year, this court ruling came into force. So, in line with the law, in line with legislation and regulations, the customs now has to stick with that court decision. So the customs officers keep saying that we should not follow the court ruling. We need to get an instruction from our own administration, from our main office in Kiev, and that's it. I think that this is a wrong approach in the state where the rule of law prevails. Good afternoon. I have to apologize before our citizens who planned to relocate to mainland Ukraine from Crimea, and we appeared unable to ensure proper conditions for them. Now, I hope that that court ruling, which we mentioned today, will enable the Cabinet of Ministers to make amendments to the Resolution 1035. Neither the law about special economic zone Crimea, nor this resolution, they are not constitutional. From the very first day when that resolution came into force, it was a wrong thing, because this was based on an attempt to use Article 375 of the Customs Code, and based on that very old, obsolete article, which allows to take home appliances which probably are not needed to modern people, because that article was passed long ago, and did not allow to take the most necessary things. We believe that the Cabinet has to pay attention on the regulations that are based on the obsolete customs code, and we continue our work on this resolution and possible amendments to them. I can show you this batch of documents. It is our correspondence about this very resolution. I think that very soon we will have the entire book called the History of One Resolution, and I think that in that book we will mention the names of all those people who rejected to repeal this resolution under very funny pretexts. And Crimean residents should know these names.
Суда.
As to the ruling of the court, it cancels the first item of the resolution. The first item 1 of the resolution is recognized as illegal. The body that was drafting this resolution has to introduce amendments to the resolution in a week before the ruling of the court. A week before that, there was a committee, governmental committee, which considered this draft resolution, and it was sent again for finalization. And I hope that this ruling of the court will become the incentive because there's no time to send this resolution for any amendments, and I believe that the document will be amended and all the obstacles existing today will be removed. Also, I support our colleagues so that people could plan moving based on this ruling of the court, but I would like to recommend you please wait till this resolution is considered by the meeting of the Cabinet of Ministers so that it's really all approved, because moving from one place to another is something that you plan in advance. So please, be patient for a week or two. Amendments to the resolution will be introduced, but if there's no such a possibility, our colleagues are right. Now there are no obstacles to move your personal belongings across the border. Any questions? Once you have no questions, then I would like to clarify, do I understand it correctly if now the Customs Service doesn't react to the ruling of the court, it will start reacting to it after the amendments are introduced into the resolution? Or maybe they should react to the ruling of the court, and if this doesn't happen, what can we do with that?
Коротко сказать, во-первых, фактически препятствия могут сегодня...
Only the Customs Service can put some obstacles today. As of today, there are no obstacles in moving personal belongings. The ruling of the court has become effective on the 14th of June. The fact that some people do not execute this ruling means that the citizens can go to law enforcement bodies. I do not exclude the fact that the bureaucratic system I don't understand why some civil servants are using the regulations which do not correspond to the rulings of the court. I don't know why the Customs Service is doing it. They shouldn't be waiting till amendments are introduced into the resolution. Behind the documents there are people. We are talking about just people. There are 2.5 million of them on the territory of Crimea.
которые сегодня хотят услышать от него ответ, почему решение суда сегодня не выполняется со стороны таможенной службы.
Дякую. В принципі, все зрозуміло. Сподіваємося, що митна служба почує і все-таки буде дивитися не на інструкцію, а на ті оновлення в законодавстві, які вже по суті трапляються. Дякую вам ще раз. Чи з'явилися запитання у залі? Якщо більше запитань немає, тоді на цьому будемо завершувати.